This video was made thanks to this awesome request. Thank you for the title suggestion, and happy watching.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Quirkless. If you're a fan of My Hero Academia, especially awesome fanfiction stories all about Deku, you're definitely in the right place. Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow anime fans, and subscribe so you never miss a new upload. Also, if you have an awesome idea or title for the next fanfiction video, drop it in the comment below. I'd love to read your suggestions. And hey, if you want to support the channel even more and keep me extra motivated to create awesome content, consider joining our channel membership. By becoming a member, you'll unlock cool perks like exclusive loyalty badges and custom stickers you can use in the comments. If you've already joined, thank you so much. Your support truly means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Alright, let's get right into the story.
Izuku Midoriya had heard the same answer his entire life. You're quirkless. Doctors said it. Teachers repeated it. Children laughed about it. Even after years had passed, nothing changed. Yet one thing always confused everyone. Izuku was unusually short. Even among students his age, he barely reached their shoulders. Many assumed it was genetics. They were right. They simply did not know whose genetics. Inside the Midoriya apartment, Inko placed dinner on the table. Izuku, your guitar practice is getting better. Izuku smiled awkwardly. Thanks, Mom. The small wooden guitar beside him looked old despite being carefully maintained. It had belonged to his father. Someone he barely remembered. The only thing Inko ever said was, "Your father loved singing more than anything. He always carried that guitar. He believed music could solve almost any problem." Izuku simply laughed whenever he heard that story. That sounds impossible. Later that evening, Izuku climbed onto the apartment rooftop. The city lights streaked beneath the night sky. He quietly tuned the guitar. Plink, plink. His fingers slowly moved across the strings. Although he had never received professional lessons, the melodies came naturally, almost instinctively, as though someone invisible guided his hands. He began humming softly, a melody without words. The gentle sound drifted through the night breeze. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, the guitar suddenly vibrated. Hum. Izuku blinked. A faint emerald glow appeared around the instrument. The strings began shining one after another. Plink, plink. Did I break something? The glow rapidly intensified. Green magical symbols appeared beneath his feet. Circles, runes, constellations. They rotated around him. Whoom. The rooftop trembled. Wind gathered from every direction. Izuku stood frozen. What is this? The melody continued by itself. His fingers moved without conscious thought. Every note echoed with strange energy. Hum, hum, hum. The glowing runes expanded across the rooftop. Then, something emerged. A gigantic hand, completely translucent, dark green, larger than a truck. It floated quietly beside Izuku. Its fingers slowly opened. The enormous magical hand patiently waited for a command. Izuku stared with wide eyes. What is that? The hand waved. Very politely. Izuku instinctively waved back. The giant hand copied him perfectly. It's listening. He cautiously pointed toward a nearby air conditioning unit. Can you move that? The giant hand immediately obeyed. Whoosh. It gently lifted the heavy machine as though it weighed nothing. Izuku nearly dropped his guitar. No way. Before he could react, the rooftop door burst open. Bang. Inko rushed outside. Izuku. She froze. Her son stood beside an enormous dark green magical hand. The air shimmered with emerald light. The guitar continued glowing. I can explain, Izuku said nervously. Actually, I don't know how. The giant hand suddenly reached toward Inko. Wait, Izuku shouted. Instead of attacking, The hand carefully picked up a flower pot that had fallen over. It gently placed the pot back where it belonged. Then it proudly gave Izuku a thumbs up. Silence filled the rooftop. Inko blinked several times. It's very polite. Izuku slowly nodded. Yeah, I think so. Moments later, the magical hand quietly faded away. The emerald runes disappeared. The rooftop returned to normal. Only the guitar still glowed faintly. Back inside the apartment, mother and son searched every book they owned. Nothing explained what had happened. There were no records of a quirk creating magical circles. There were no known quirks involving songs that summoned gigantic glowing hands. Everything about the phenomenon broke every rule of quirk science. Late that night, after Inko had gone to sleep, someone knocked on the apartment door. Knock, knock, knock. Izuku carefully opened it. There was nobody outside, only a small wooden package. Wrapped in purple cloth, a note rested on top. Written in elegant handwriting. To my little bard, looks like your magic finally woke up. Don't let anyone convince you it's a quirk. That's real arcane magic. I'll explain everything soon. Dad. Izuku slowly looked inside the package. There was an old leather-bound notebook. Its cover was decorated with musical notes and tiny stars. Engraved across the front were 4 words. The Bard's Handbook. Izuku quietly smiled. Dad, who are you, really? Morning sunlight entered the Midoriya apartment. Izuku had barely slept. The leather-bound notebook rested on the dining table. Beside it lay the small guitar inherited from his father. Inko looked at both objects with concern. Are you sure you should open it? Izuku slowly nodded. Dad left it for me. I have to know the truth. He carefully untied the leather strap. Creak. The old notebook opened by itself. Its pages were covered with elegant handwriting. Strange musical symbols filled every corner. Between them were magical circles unlike anything found in modern science. The first page contained only one sentence. If you're reading this, congratulations. You're officially a bard. Izuku blinked. A bard. He turned the page. Another message appeared. Your power isn't a quirk. It is arcane magic. Magic doesn't come from genes. Magic comes from talent, emotion, imagination, and music. Izuku read the paragraph twice. Not a quirk. He immediately remembered the doctor's diagnosis years ago. Quirkless. For the first time, that word suddenly seemed meaningless. The following pages contained skatikas. Different instruments, songs, spells. Their names were written beside each illustration. Bigby's hand, Thunderwave, Healing Word, Vicious Mockery, Major Image, Fly, Fireball. Izuku's eyes widened with every page. These are all spells. A folded letter slipped from between 2 pages. It landed softly on the table. Izuku unfolded it. Izuku, if your magic has awakened, then you're ready. People will call it a quirk because that's the only explanation they know. Don't argue with them. Just keep learning. Remember one thing. Music is your focus. Without an instrument, your spells become weaker. Never lose your guitar. I'll meet you when the time is right. Scanlan Shorthalt. Inko quietly whispered. Scanlan. So that's his real name. Izuku looked toward her. You knew. Inko smiled awkwardly. He always introduced himself differently wherever he went. Your father wasn't exactly ordinary. Beneath the letter rested another object. A beautifully crafted guitar, much smaller than a normal one. Perfectly sized for Izuku's height. Its body shimmered with polished dark wood. Silver strings reflected the morning sunlight. Emerald gemstones decorated the neck. Musical runes glowed faintly beneath the surface. The moment Izuku touched it, hum. The guitar immediately responded. Soft emerald light flowed through every string. The runes awakened. The entire instrument seemed alive. The notebook flipped to another page on its own. New words appeared. Lesson 1. Every spell begins with a melody. Don't force the magic. Play. Izuku smiled. That's simple enough. Later that afternoon, he walked into a quiet clearing inside a nearby park. Nobody else was around. He sat beneath a large tree. The notebook rested beside him. The new guitar lay across his lap. He slowly strummed the first chord. Plink. Nothing happened. He tried again. Plink. Still nothing. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. He checked the notebook. Another sentence appeared. Stop thinking like a student. Start playing like a performer. Izuku scratched his head. That's not very specific. He took a deep breath. Instead of concentrating on casting magic, he simply enjoyed the music. A cheerful melody echoed through the park. Plink, plunk, plink. Little by little, emerald particles appeared around him. They floated through the air like tiny fireflies. The notebook suddenly glowed. Another spell revealed itself. Healing Word. A short musical phrase was written beneath the title. Izuku softly sang the notes. The melody flowed naturally. Immediately, a nearby broken flower slowly repaired itself. Its wilted petals straightened. Its color returned. Fresh leaves unfolded. Izuku stared in amazement. It healed. Before he could celebrate, another page flipped. Vicious mockery. Below the spell was a single instruction. Be creative. Izuku laughed nervously. Creative. He looked toward an old tree stump. You're the ugliest tree stump I've ever seen. Nothing happened. Izuku sighed. I'm terrible at insulting things. The notebook remained silent, almost as if it agreed. He continued practicing throughout the afternoon. Small melodies produced tiny magical sparks. Simple chords created glowing lights. Gentle songs strengthened the emerald aura surrounding his body. His control steadily improved. As the sun began setting, he decided to try one final spell. He remembered the previous night. The giant dark green hand. He carefully played the same melody. Slowly, confidently. Hum, hum, hum. Emerald runes spread beneath his feet once more. Womb. A familiar magical circle appeared. From its center, the enormous dark green hand emerged again. Larger than before, more stable, it quietly floated beside him. Waiting. Izuku smiled widely. Welcome back. The giant hand happily gave another thumbs up. Then, without anyone ordering it, it gently patted Izuku's head. Pat. Izuku laughed. Thanks. High above the park, hidden behind drifting clouds, a small glowing portal quietly opened. A short man wearing flamboyant purple clothing leaned halfway through it. He carried a brightly colored lute across his back. Pointed ears twitterded happily. He watched Izuku with a proud grin. That's my boy. Scanlan Shorthalt chuckled softly. You're learning even faster than I expected. With a snap of his fingers, the portal quietly closed, leaving behind only a faint echo of distant laughter and music. 3 days passed. Izuku practiced every afternoon. The Bard's Handbook continued revealing new spells as his confidence grew. Healing Word, Minor Illusion, Mage Hand, Light. Each spell responded not to force, but to music. The small emerald guitar had become part of him. Wherever he went, it remained strapped across his back. One afternoon, Izuku finished shopping for inko. The streets of Musudafu bustled with people. Heroes patrolled overhead. Shopkeepers called out to passing customers. Everything seemed peaceful, until a terrified scream shattered the afternoon. Help! People immediately turned toward the noise. Boom! Cars crashed together. Black sludge exploded across the street. A gigantic monster emerged from the wreckage. Its body constantly shifted like living mud. Dozens of eyes opened across its surface. Its mouth stretched unnaturally wide. Roar! People panicked. Everyone ran. Izuku immediately recognized the creature. The sludge villain. His heartbeat accelerated. Inside the monster, someone struggled desperately. An arm reached out, then disappeared back into the sludge. Help, please. Izuku's eyes widened. Kachan. Bakugo's explosions erupted from inside. Boom. Boom. They barely slowed the monster. Instead, the sludge tightened around him. Professional heroes surrounded the area. Death arms charged first. Boom. His punch landed. The sludge absorbed everything. Backdraft blasted water across the monster. Whoosh. The attack accomplished nothing. Kamui Woods attempted to restrain it. Wooden vines wrapped around the sludge. Crack. They snapped instantly. Every hero hesitated. From the crowd, Izuku slowly stepped forward. He removed the small guitar from his back. One police officer shouted, "Kid, get back." Izuku didn't move. Instead, he quietly tightened the guitar strings. Plink, plink. The sludge villain laughed. "Another child. You'll make a nice snack too." Roar. The monster lunged toward him. Izuku closed his eyes. He remembered the Bard's Handbook. A single spell. One page. One instruction. Vicious mockery. He smiled nervously. "Okay, let's try this." His fingers moved across the strings. Plink, plunk, plink. A cheerful rhythm echoed through the street. Everyone looked at him in confusion. Then, Izuku began singing. "You're a walking puddle that forgot how to stay on the ground. Even a dirty sponge looks tougher than you. Did someone spill yesterday's soup?" For 1 second, nothing happened. Then, the emerald runes beneath Izuku's feet ignited. Woom. Dark green sound waves burst outward. The musical notes became glowing magical symbols. They struck the sludge villain directly. The monster suddenly screamed. Grog. Its body violently shook. Large portions of sludge exploded outward. Boom. The villain clutched its head. What is happening? The magical insults echoed inside its mind. Every word struck like invisible hammers. Crack, crack. Its concentration completely collapsed. Bakugo finally managed to breathe. "What is this?" Izuku immediately turned another page in the handbook. Thunderwave. He took a deep breath. Then played a powerful chord. Brong. Emerald lightning erupted around the guitar. The air itself vibrated. Woom. A circular shockwave expanded from Izuku's feet. Boom. The thunderwave slammed into the sludge villain. The street shook violently. Windows rattled. Cars slid backward. The monster's liquid body burst apart into dozens of pieces. Boom. Chunks of sludge scattered across the pavement. The magical soundwave completely shattered its physical form. Bakugo fell free. He landed roughly on the asphalt. Cough. Cough. The remaining sludge desperately tried to reform. Impossible. What kind of quirk? Before it could finish, another thunderwave arrived. Brong. Boom. The remaining sludge completely dispersed. Its consciousness vanished. The villain was defeated. Silence. The entire street froze. Death Arms slowly lowered his fists. Backdraft stared blankly. Kamui Woods blinked several times. None of them understood what they had just witnessed. One police officer whispered, "He never touched the villain." Another answered, "He defeated it, with a guitar." Bakugo slowly stood. His clothes were covered with slime. He glared at Izuku. "Deku, since when?" Izuku scratched the back of his head. "Honestly, I'm still figuring it out myself." Before anyone could ask another question, a gust of wind swept across the street. Whoosh! A familiar figure landed nearby. "All Might, I apologize for arriving late." He looked toward the defeated sludge villain. Then toward Izuku. Then toward the glowing guitar. "Young man, did you stop that villain?" Izuku nodded awkwardly. "I think so." All Might looked around the destroyed street. There were no burn marks. No impact craters. No signs of a conventional quirk. Only faint emerald musical notes slowly fading into the air. For the first time in many years, the symbol of peace found himself completely speechless. The UA entrance examination had finally arrived. Hundreds of hopeful applicants gathered outside the massive academy gates. Some stretched their muscles. Others reviewed hero notes one last time. Many quietly observed their future competition. Among the crowd, one unusually short green-haired boy adjusted the strap of a small guitar hanging across his shoulder. Izuku Midoriya calmly looked toward the towering school. This is it. The Bard's Handbook rested safely inside his backpack. During the past several weeks, new spells had continued revealing themselves. Minor Illusion, Mage Armor, Feather Fall, Bigby's Hand. Every spell had become easier to control. Still, he had no idea how powerful they truly were. Nearby, Bakugo noticed him. Deku. His expiration immediately darkened. You're actually taking this exam. Izuku smiled politely. Yeah, Bakugo scoffed. Don't embarrass yourself. Heroes aren't musicians. Before Izuku could answer, Present Mike's energetic voice echoed through the plaza. All right, everyone, move to your assigned battle zones. Show us your best. The massive gates slowly opened. Rumble. Inside Battle Zone C, rows of artificial villains stood motionless. 1-pointers, 2-pointers, 3-pointers. Their optical sensors activated simultaneously. Beep, beep, beep. Then, the starting buzzer rang. Beep. Everyone rushed forward. Boom. Explosions erupted everywhere. Quirks illuminated the streets. Robots immediately began fighting back. Bakugo blasted through the first intersection. Boom. Boom. Robots exploded one after another. Todoroki froze entire streets beneath towering glaciers. Ida dashed between buildings at incredible speed. Ochako carefully searched for smaller targets. Every participant fought desperately. Izuku remained calm. Instead of charging ahead, he climbed onto the roof of a nearby building. He overlooked the entire battlefield. Better visibility. He gently removed the emerald guitar. 3 robots spotted him. Warning sirens echoed. Beep, beep. Their cannons rotated toward the rooftop. Izuku quietly strummed a chord. Plink, hum. Emerald runes appeared beneath his feet. Mage armor. A transparent green barrier surrounded his body. The robots fired. Boom, boom, boom. The shells exploded against the magical barrier. None reached him. The emerald shield shimmered softly. Izuku smiled. My turn. He played another melody. Bright musical notes danced through the air. Major illusion. Suddenly, 5 identical Izukus appeared across nearby rooftops. Each one played the guitar. The robots immediately became confused. They fired in every direction. Boom, boom, boom. Every shot struck an illusion. None found the real target. Izuku continued playing. He quietly whispered, Bigby's hand. Whoom. A gigantic dark green magical circle expanded above the street. Emerald light erupted toward the sky. Then, the enormous dark green hand descended once again. It dwarfed every nearby building. Its emerald fingers slowly clenched into a fist. Students stopped fighting. What is that? Is that a quirk? It's enormous. Even the instructors monitoring the exam leaned closer to their screens. Izuku pointed toward the approaching robots. Go. The giant hand immediately moved. Whoosh. Its speed shocked everyone. Smash. One massive punch flattened 3 robots at once. Metal flew everywhere. Boom. The street shook. Another wave of machines charged forward. The giant hand opened. It grabbed 2 robots effortlessly. Crunch. Their armor crumpled like paper. Sparks erupted. The broken machines were tossed into a 3rd robot. Boom. All 3 exploded. Inside the monitoring room, Smintos blinked. That's not telekinesis. Midnight crossed her arms. And it doesn't resemble any known quirk. All Might quietly watched without speaking. He remembered the emerald music from the sludge incident. Young Midoriya. The exam continued. Izuku calmly directed the magical hand. Grab. Throw. Crush. Slam. Every movement followed the rhythm of his guitar. The giant hand even caught falling debris before it struck other applicants. It gently placed injured students onto safe rooftops. Its movements were surprisingly careful. Time passed quickly. Then, warning sirens echoed throughout the entire battlefield. Whoom. Present Mike's voice boomed through every speaker. Attention! The zero-pointer has been released. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The enormous robot slowly emerged from behind the buildings. Its gigantic shadow swallowed entire streets. Many applicants immediately fled. Run. That thing isn't worth points. Ochako stumbled while escaping. A collapsed building blocked her path. The zero-pointer continued advancing. Each step shook the city. Boom, boom, boom. She looked up in horror. I can't move. From the rooftop, Izuku saw everything. She's trapped. Without hesitation, he tightened his grip on the guitar. The melody changed. Deeper. Stronger. Emerald light burst across the battlefield. Whoom. The gigantic dark green hand expanded even further. It became nearly as large as the zero-pointer itself. All Might stood up. He increased its size. Recovery Girl stared at the monitors. Without any physical strain, Izuku pointed toward the giant robot. Protect her. The magical hand immediately obeyed. Whoosh. It intercepted the zero-pointer's descending foot. Boom. The collision echoed across the entire examination zone. The ground cracked. Dust filled the air. The robot stopped moving. Its enormous leg couldn't descend another centimeter. The dark green hand held it firmly in place. Every student watched in stunned silence. Izuku smiled. Now, lift. The giant hand slowly pushed upward. Creak. The impossible happened. The zero-pointer began rising. Higher. Higher. Its balance shifted. The massive machine tilted backward. Its alarms blared wildly. Warning. Warning. Izuku strummed one final chord. Brong. Finish it. The giant hand clenched into a colossal fist. Then, it swung. Boom. The punch landed directly against the zero-pointer's torso. Metal twisted violently. Crack. Its armor collapsed inward. The gigantic robot was launched through several buildings before crashing into the ground. Boom. A cloud of dust rose hundreds of meters into the sky. When it settled, the zero-pointer lay completely destroyed. Silence spread across the battlefield. No one moved. No one spoke. Only the fading emerald glow remained around the enormous magical hand. High above the arena, the instructors quietly stared at the monitors. All Might slowly smiled. Remarkable. He didn't sacrifice his body. He protected another student, and he defeated the zero-pointer without throwing a single punch himself. Inside the monitoring room, Principal Nezu quietly sipped his tea. His eyes gleamed with interest. What an extraordinary applicant. I believe UA has just discovered a very unusual future hero. The morning sun shined brightly over UA High School. Class 1A gathered outside the training field. Everyone had already changed into their brand new hero costumes. Bakugo adjusted his grenade gauntlets. Ida proudly straightened his glasses. Ochako smiled nervously. Todoroki silently observed everyone around him. Then, a very short boy carrying a small emerald guitar quietly walked onto the field. Many students glanced toward him. Mina blinked. He's even shorter in person. Hiroshima laughed. But that guitar looks awesome. Izuku scratched the back of his head. Thanks. A yellow sleeping bag suddenly moved. Zip. A tired-looking man slowly crawled out. Long black hair. Sleepy eyes. Capture weapon wrapped around his neck. Shota Aizawa. I'm your homeroom teacher. Shota Aizawa. This orientation is a waste of time. He yawned. We're doing a quirk assessment test. The class immediately became serious. Aizawa casually tossed a softball toward Izuku. Midoriya. Step forward. Izuku caught the ball. Yes, sir. Aizawa looked at the student list. Your entrance exam report is. He paused. Strange. His eyes moved toward the guitar. That thing is part of your quirk. Izuku answered honestly. I don't think it's a quirk. It's magic. The class fell silent. Then, several students laughed. Mina giggled. Magic. Denki grinned. Good one. Even Kirishima chuckled. That's hilarious. Izuku simply smiled awkwardly. I'm serious. Aizawa sighed. Whatever. Throw the ball. Izuku nodded. He gently placed the guitar across his shoulder. Instead of winding up for a normal throw, he softly strummed a short melody. Plink. Hum. Emerald runes appeared around the softball. The giant dark green hand emerged behind him. Woom. Its enormous fingers carefully grabbed the ball. The class immediately stopped laughing. Wait, it's here again. The giant hand casually flicked the softball. Flick. Boom. The air exploded. A powerful shockwave blasted across the field. The ball disappeared beyond the clouds. Everyone instinctively covered their faces. Aizawa looked at his tablet. The distance counter continued climbing. 1 kilometer. 5, 20, 100. It still hadn't stopped. Finally, the screen displayed its result. Infinity. Silence. Zero slowly pointed at the display. Did it just say infinity? Ojiro rubbed his eyes. That's impossible. Aizawa narrowed his eyes. Interesting. Without saying another word, his hair slowly floated upward. Red energy surrounded his eyes. His erasure quirk activated. He stared directly at Izuku. The class watched carefully. His quirk is being erased. Right. Nothing happened. The emerald runes remained. The guitar still glowed. The giant hand lazily waved at Aizawa. It even gave him a polite thumbs up. Aizawa blinked once. Then again. He increased his concentration. His eyes became even redder. Erase. Still, nothing changed. The magical hand remained completely unaffected. Izuku looked around. Is something supposed to happen? The class exchanged confused looks. Bakugo frowned. What's going on? Todoroki quietly watched Aizawa. His quirk isn't working. Aizawa lowered his gaze slightly. He had erased thousands of quirks before. Mutation quirks, emitter quirks, transformation quirks. None had resisted him. Yet, this strange emerald magic ignored him completely. Rap. The giant hand gently tapped Aizawa's shoulder. Pat. Aizawa slowly turned his head. The hand immediately offered another thumbs up. Mina burst into laughter. It's greeting sensei. Denki couldn't hold it anymore. It's so polite. Even Kirishima laughed loudly. Aizawa ignored the students. He looked directly at Izuku. Ixpilane. Izuku thought for a moment. The book says it's arcane magic. It doesn't come from genetics. It comes from songs. And imagination. I really don't know more than that. Aizawa silently observed him. There was no sign of deception. The student genuinely believed every word. The remaining physical tests continued. The 50-meter dash. Izuku cast a light movement spell through his guitar. He finished near the top of the class. The standing long jump. The giant hand gently launched him across the field. The grip strength test. Bigby's hand squeezed the machine instead. Crack. The measuring device broke. The sidestep test. Minor illusion created multiple copies, confusing even the automatic counter. Every event produced another impossible result. Inside the observation room, All Might watched quietly. Recovery Girl folded her arms. Erasure didn't affect him. Principal Nezu smiled while sipping tea. Exactly as expected. All Might looked toward Nezu. You suspected something. Nezu nodded. His abilities don't behave like a quirk. They resemble an entirely different system. Back on the training field, Aizawa finished reviewing the scores. He looked toward the class. Nobody is being expelled. The students sighed with relief. However, his eyes stopped on Izuku. Midoriya. After class, I want to see that guitar. Izuku smiled politely. Sure. Aizawa-sensei. High above the school, hidden behind drifting clouds, a tiny magical portal quietly opened. Scanlan Shorthalt peeked through it with a proud grin. Trying to erase barred magic. He laughed softly. Good luck with that. With a snap of his fingers, the portal vanished into the afternoon sky. The first week at UA passed quickly. Class 1A gradually became familiar with one another. Everyone had already witnessed Izuku's strange magic during the quirk assessment. Although many still called it a quirk, nobody could explain why Aizawa's erasure had failed. Today, their first combat exercise awaited. Inside Ground Beta, All Might stood before the class wearing his silver hero training suit. Today's lesson is simple. Heroes and villains battle inside a building. He pointed toward a large monitor. Your objective depends on your assigned role. The students immediately became excited. Cards were drawn. Heroes, villains, partners. After several moments, the screen displayed the first match. Heroes: Izuku Midoriya, Ochako Uraraka. Villains: Katsuki Bakugo, Tenya Iida. Bakugo grinned. Finally, small explosions danced across his palms. I'll crush you, Deku. Izuku simply adjusted the strap of his guitar. I'm looking forward to the match. Inside the villain headquarters, Ida stood beside the fake nuclear weapon. Our objective is to defend this device. Bakugo ignored him. I'm hunting Deku. Outside the building, Ochako nervously looked at Izuku. What's the plan? Izuku smiled. Let's not fight him directly. We'll perform instead. Ochako tilted her head. Perform. The timer began. Beep. Izuku and Ochako entered the building. Their footsteps echoed through the empty corridors. Everything remained quiet. Too quiet. Boom. An explosion suddenly tore through a nearby wall. Dust filled the hallway. Bakugo burst forward. Found you. He launched another blast. Boom. Ochako jumped backward. He's fast. Izuku calmly placed one hand on his guitar. Don't worry. He played a gentle melody. Plink, plunk, hum. Emerald magic circles quietly spread across the hallway. Major image. Womb. 5 identical copies of Izuku suddenly appeared. Each carried the same guitar. Each smiled calmly. Each began walking in different directions. Bakugo froze. What? The copies laughed together. Which one is real? Good luck. Over here. No. Over here. Their voices echoed from every direction. Boom. Bakugo fired at the nearest copy. It vanished into emerald mist. Fake. Another copy waved cheerfully from the ceiling. Mist. Boom. Another explosion. Another illusion disappeared. Inside the observation room, Mina burst into laughter. He's making Bakugo chase ghosts. Denki nearly fell from his chair. This is amazing. Even All Might smiled. Young Midoriya is controlling the battlefield. Bakugo became increasingly frustrated. Stop hiding. Boom. Boom. He blasted through several walls. The building shook violently, yet every target disappeared before he reached it. Izuku quietly whispered another spell. Invisibility. Hum. Emerald light briefly surrounded him. Then, he vanished completely. Ochako blinked. Where did you go? Only Izuku's whisper remained. I'm beside you. Ochako jumped slightly. Don't scare me like that. Bakugo searched every floor. His breathing grew heavier. Where are you? His explosions became more reckless. Boom. Boom. Pieces of concrete scattered everywhere. Hidden behind an illusion, Izuku quietly watched. He's wasting energy. He gently strummed another chord. Plink. A loud guitar melody echoed through the 3rd floor. Bakugo immediately turned toward the sound. There. He rushed upstairs. The music suddenly came from the basement. Bakugo stopped. What? Another melody echoed from outside the building. Then another from the rooftop. The entire building seemed alive with music. Inside the monitoring room, Aizawa crossed his arms. He's controlling Bakugo's movements. Principal Nezu smiled. A classic misdirection strategy. Meanwhile, the real Izuku quietly led Ochako toward the objective room. Ida still guarded the mock nuclear weapon. He immediately noticed footsteps. Intruders. He charged forward using engine burst. Izuku smiled politely. Sorry about this, Iida. He played another quick melody. A thick emerald fog filled the corridor. Major Image created the illusion of dozens of approaching heroes. Ida immediately changed direction. Multiple enemies. He attempted to intercept them. His kicks passed through empty air. Illusions. Ochako seized the opportunity. She rushed past him. I'm almost there. She touched the mock nuclear weapon. Beep. The monitor immediately displayed the result. Heroes win. Outside, Bakugo finally reached the rooftop. He found only one thing waiting. An illusion of Izuku calmly sitting on a chair, playing the guitar. The illusion smiled. Thanks for the tour. It disappeared. Boom. Bakugo exploded in frustration. Deku. Back in the observation room. All Might clapped enthusiastically. Excellent. A flawless victory. The students applauded. Kirishima grinned. He didn't even throw a punch. Mina laughed. He made the whole building his stage. Bakugo walked back toward the class covered in dust. He glared at Izuku. You never fought me. Izuku smiled apologetically. I didn't need to. The mission was to secure the objective, not defeat you. Bakugo clenched his fists. For the first time, he realized he had lost a battle without ever landing a meaningful hit. Aizawa quietly looked at Izuku before writing something into his notebook. Combat style. Battlefield control through illusion, stealth, and misdirection. Danger level significantly higher than initial assessment. The following week, Class 1A gathered once again at Ground Beta. The students expected another combat exercise. Instead, All Might stood in front of them with an excited smile. Today's lesson focuses on teamwork. He raised one finger dramatically. A hero is stronger when working together. The class cheered. All Might looked toward Izuku. Young Midoriya, today I'd like you to demonstrate your unique support abilities. Izuku blinked. Me? Yes. All Might laughed. Your music seems capable of affecting others. Let's see exactly how far that power can go. The training field was divided into several obstacle courses. Towering concrete walls, moving platforms, jumping zones, combat dummies, speed lanes. Every student would first complete the course individually, then repeat it after receiving Izuku's magical support. Aizawa quietly observed from nearby. This should provide measurable data. Recovery Girl nodded. I'm interested in whether the enhancement is physical or psychological. The first test began. Kirishima charged forward. He hardened his body. He smashed through concrete barriers. Boom. He completed the course in 1 minute and 23 seconds. Next came Mina. She slid across obstacles with acid-assisted movement. 1 minute and 18 seconds. Ida sprinted through the course. His engines roared. Vroom. He crossed the finish line in 56 seconds. Every result was carefully recorded. Then, All Might smiled toward Izuku. All right. Begin your performance. Izuku walked onto a small platform overlooking the training field. He removed the emerald guitar from his shoulder. His classmates gathered below. Some looked curious. Others looked skeptical. Bakugo crossed his arms. Music isn't making anyone stronger. Izuku smiled. I've never tried this on so many people. So, here goes. He gently closed his eyes. His fingers brushed the silver strings. Plink, plunk, hum. A warm melody spread across the training ground. Soft, steady, encouraging. Emerald musical notes floated into the air. They danced around every student. Small glowing runes appeared beneath Izuku's feet. The bard's handbook resting inside his backpack suddenly opened by itself. One page glowed brightly. Bardic inspiration. Izuku began singing. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The melody carried naturally across the entire training field. Every note shimmered with emerald light. Whoom. The magical notes gently landed on each student. Small emerald stars circled around their shoulders. The air itself felt lighter. Ochako blinked. I suddenly feel really energetic. Kirishima clenched his fists. Whoa, my body's lighter. Mina smiled brightly. I feel amazing. Even Bakugo frowned. What? He slowly flexed his fingers. Why do my explosions feel more stable? Rap. Small emerald symbols appeared on everyone's hero costumes. The magic quietly synchronized with each person's movements. All Might looked toward Recovery Girl. Can you feel it? She nodded. Their heart rates have stabilized. Muscle efficiency has increased. And she stared at the monitor. Their fatigue is decreasing. Aizawa narrowed his eyes. It's not hypnosis. They're actually stronger. The second round immediately began. Ida dashed forward again. Vroom. This time, he moved even faster. He effortlessly cleared every obstacle. He crossed the finish line. The timer stopped. 48 seconds. Ida stared at the display. 8 seconds faster. Kirishima entered next. He punched through reinforced concrete. Boom. Walls shattered more easily than before. His finishing time improved by nearly 20 seconds. Mina danced across moving platforms with incredible precision. This is awesome. Tokiyami's dark shadow moved far more smoothly. Momo created equipment faster than before. Ciro's tape shots became noticeably more accurate. Even Kaminari maintained better electrical control. Every student improved. Inside the observation booth, the instructors quietly reviewed the data. Smintos looked impressed. Every participant improved. Midnight nodded. Speed, strength, reaction, confidence. Everything increased. Aizawa quietly spoke. He isn't simply supporting them. He's enhancing their overall combat performance. Bakugo finally stepped onto the course. He glanced toward Izuku. Don't think this changes anything. Izuku smiled. Good luck. The melody continued. Bakugo blasted forward. Boom. His explosions flowed more smoothly. His landings became cleaner. He barely wasted any movement. He reached the finish line. 42 seconds. His personal best. He stared silently at the timer. He hated admitting it, but the music had helped. After everyone finished, the emerald notes slowly faded away. The magical symbols disappeared. The students immediately noticed the difference. I'm getting tired again. The boost disappeared. All Might stepped forward. Excellent work. He proudly looked toward Izuku. This kind of support ability is incredibly valuable. A single hero making an entire team stronger. That's extraordinary. Ochako walked over with a bright smile. Thank you, Midoriya. I've never felt so confident. Kirishima nodded enthusiastically. Your songs are manly. Mina laughed. Next time, play something even cooler. Tokiyami quietly bowed. Your melody strengthened both body and spirit. Bakugo remained silent. He walked past Izuku. After several steps, he stopped. Without turning around, he muttered, "Your music wasn't bad." He immediately continued walking before anyone could react. The class stared. Kaminari's jaw dropped. Did Bakugo just compliment someone? Mina gasped dramatically. Write down the date. The entire class burst into laughter. Even Aizawa sighed. That's probably the rarest event I'll see all year. Izuku scratched the back of his head and laughed quietly. I'll take that as progress. The following week, Class 1A boarded the large UA transport bus. Today's destination was the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, better known as the USJ. The students chatted excitedly throughout the ride. Mina leaned toward Izuku. Hey, Midoriya, Are you bringing your guitar again? Izuku smiled. I always do. He gently adjusted the emerald guitar resting across his shoulder. It's how I use my magic. Denki grinned. Please tell me you're going to hold another concert. Kirishima laughed. That would be awesome. A short time later, the bus stopped. The massive training facility stood before them. Artificial cities, mountains, rivers, collapsed buildings. Every disaster environment imaginable had been recreated. 13 welcomed the class. Today we'll be studying disaster rescue. Before the lesson could begin, space suddenly twisted. Crack. A swirling black portal opened in the center of the plaza. Purple mist spread across the ground. Whoom. Dozens, then hundreds, of villains emerged. Armed criminals, mutant villains, masked mercenaries, all surrounded the students. A pale young man scratched his neck. Tamura Shigaraki slowly stepped out of the portal. All Might isn't here. How disappointing. Beside him, Kurogiri floated silently. Aizawa immediately stepped forward. 13. Protect the students. He activated his capture weapon. Everyone, don't move. Shigaraki casually pointed forward. Kill them. Rawr. The villains charged. Before anyone could react, Kurogiri expended his warp gate. Black portals swallowed the students. Whoosh. The class scattered across different disaster zones. Izuku landed inside the central plaza. He rolled across the ground. Nearby, Ochako, Tsuyu, Kirishima, Mina, and several others had landed with him. All around them, more than 50 villains closed in. One criminal laughed. Look, the kid with the guitar. Another raised his weapon. Let's silence the musician. Izuku calmly stood. He looked toward the broken remains of a collapsed observation tower nearby. That should work, he whispered. Fly. Hum. Emerald magic circles appeared beneath his feet. Soft green wings of magical energy unfolded behind him. Whoosh. He gently rose into the air. Every villain stopped. He's flying. That's not normal. Izuku landed on top of the broken tower. He overlooked the battlefield below. Villains filled every street. Heroes were outnumbered. His friends were preparing to fight. He smiled. Then, time for today's performance. He tightened the guitar strings. Plink, plunk, hum. The melody echoed across USJ. Soft at first, then stronger. Emerald musical symbols drifted through the air. The bard's handbook glowed inside his backpack. A new spell opened. Stinking Cloud. Izuku nodded. Let's try it. He played a playful melody. Bright green notes floated toward the charging villains. They gathered above the battlefield. Then, boom, a thick emerald cloud erupted. The fog rapidly spread across the plaza. What is this smell? I can't breathe. Villains immediately began coughing. Others stumbled blindly. Many dropped their weapons. Some collapsed onto the ground. The magical cloud completely destroyed their formation. Kirishima blinked. He made them sick. Mina covered her nose. At least it doesn't affect us. Raphael-like emerald runes quietly protected Izuku's allies from the spell's effects. Shigaraki narrowed his eyes. Interesting. Attack him from above. Several flying villains leapt toward the tower. They rushed through the air. Izuku calmly flipped another page in the handbook. Lightning bolt. He smiled. Encore. His fingers swept dramatically across every string. Braang. Emerald lightning erupted from the guitar. Crack. A massive beam of green electricity blasted forward. It tore across the sky like a dragon. Boom. The lightning struck the approaching villains. Their weapons exploded. Their armor shattered. Electricity chained between every airborne attacker. Crack, crack, crack. One after another, they fell unconscious. Smoke rose from their equipment. Below, every remaining villain froze. One spell. He dropped them all. Aizawa briefly glanced toward the tower while fighting dozens of enemies. Even while surrounded, He couldn't hide a small look of surprise. Midoriya. Good positioning. Izuku continued playing. The battlefield became his stage. Every melody produced another spell. Minor illusion created phantom heroes charging from side streets. The confused villains attacked empty air. Mage hand snatched weapons away before they could be fired. Healing word restored injured classmates from across the battlefield. Bardic inspiration strengthened everyone still standing. The music never stopped. Ochako smiled. He's supporting everyone at once. Suyu nodded. Ribbit. He's controlling the entire battlefield. Shigaraki slowly looked upward. His expiration darkened. That musician is becoming a problem. He turned toward the enormous figure standing silently behind him. A towering bio-engineered monster. Its muscles bulged beneath pale skin. Its empty eyes stared ahead without emotion. Nomu. Shigaraki smiled. Go. Bring me the bard. The monstrous creature slowly lifted its head. Roar. Its deafening roar echoed throughout USJ. High atop the broken tower, Izuku looked down as the massive bio-monster locked onto him. He tightened his grip on the emerald guitar. Well, looks like the main audience finally arrived. Nomu's roar echoed throughout USJ. Roar. The gigantic bio-monster bent its knees. Then, boom. The ground exploded beneath its feet. It launched into the air like a missile. Straight toward the observation tower. Izuku calmly watched the monster approach. His fingers remained on the emerald guitar. You're much faster than the robots. Nomu answered only with another roar. Roar. Its massive fist came crashing downward. Boom. The top of the tower shattered. Concrete flew everywhere. Dust swallowed the entire platform. Students below gasped. Midoriya. He got hit. The smoke slowly cleared, floating above the ruined tower. Izuku remained completely unharmed. A gigantic dark green hand had intercepted Nomu's punch. Its enormous fingers tightly gripped the monster's wrist. Woom. Emerald runes glowed across the battlefield. Nomu struggled violently. Its muscles expanded. Crack. The surrounding air trembled. Yet, the magical hand refused to let go. Shigaraki narrowed his eyes. It stopped Nomu. With one hand. Izuku smiled politely. Hello. Please don't punch my stage. The giant hand suddenly pulled. Whoosh. Nomu was violently thrown across the plaza. Boom. The bio-monster crashed through 3 buildings before rolling to a stop. The surrounding villains froze. It threw Nomu. That thing weighs several tons. Nomu immediately stood again. Its regeneration repaired the damage almost instantly. Bones cracked back into place. Muscles reformed. Roar. It charged once more. Izuku quietly opened the bard's handbook. Another glowing page revealed itself. Hypnotic pattern. He nodded slowly. Let's see if this works. He began playing. Plink, plunk, hum. The melody was soft, almost relaxing. Emerald light slowly gathered above the battlefield. Then, countless glowing geometric patterns appeared in the sky. Spirals, stars, circles, constellations. They rotated gracefully above USJ. Woom. Every villain instinctively looked upward. What? It's beautiful. Their movements slowed. Their eyes lost focus. Weapons slipped from their hands. Clang, clang. Nomu also looked upward. Its glowing eyes reflected the endless emerald patterns. The monster suddenly stopped moving. Its enormous body became completely motionless. Shigaraki blinked. Nomu, move. The bio-monster didn't respond. Its mind had become trapped inside the magical illusion. Kurogiri turned toward Shigaraki. Its consciousness has been disrupted. That shouldn't be possible. Izuku continued playing. The melody grew slightly louder. The emerald constellation slowly rotated above Nomu's head. The monster remained perfectly still. Its overwhelming strength meant nothing while its mind wandered through the hypnotic spell. All around the battlefield, villains also became entranced. Many simply stood in place. Others sat down. Some stared blankly into the glowing patterns overhead. Mina looked upward in amazement. He hypnotized them. Ochako smiled. Without hurting anyone. Tsuyu nodded. Ribbit. That's incredible. Shigaraki clenched his fists. Wake up. He rushed toward Nomu. Before he reached it, the giant dark green hand descended. Whoom. Its enormous fingers wrapped around Nomu's body. Grapple mode. Clench. The magical hand completely restrained the bio-monster. Nomu struggled instinctively. Crack. Its muscles expanded. Yet every attempt to escape failed. The emerald fingers tightened further. Shigaraki gritted his teeth. Break free. Roar. Nomu roared. Its shock absorption and immense strength activated simultaneously. The surrounding ground collapsed beneath the pressure. Boom. Still. Bigby's hand held firm. Inside the entrance tunnel, a familiar gust of wind erupted. Whoosh. All Might had finally arrived. He immediately stopped. His eyes widened. Nomu, the monster specifically created to kill him, was suspended helplessly in midair, wrapped inside a gigantic dark green magical hand. Above it, emerald hypnotic patterns continued spinning peacefully. All Might slowly lowered his fists. Young Midoriya, you already restrained it. Izuku smiled from atop the ruined tower. I thought holding it still would make things easier. All Might laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. It certainly does. The symbol of peace launched himself forward. Boom. His fist struck the immobilized Nomu directly in the chest. United States smash. Boom. The impact shattered the remaining hypnotic spell. Nomu was launched through the USJ ceiling. Crack. It disappeared into the bright sky above. Shigaraki stared in disbelief. Our strongest weapon was turned into a target. He slowly stepped backward. For the first time since arriving, fear appeared in his eyes. He wasn't afraid of All Might. He was watching the small green-haired bard calmly tuning his guitar atop the broken tower. What kind of power is that? The shattered ceiling of USJ slowly settled. Dust drifted through the afternoon sunlight. Nomu had disappeared into the sky after All Might's devastating punch. The remaining villains hesitated. Their greatest weapon had been defeated. Their formation was broken. Their morale collapsed. All Might landed beside Aizawa. Boom. He smiled confidently. Excellent work, everyone. Aizawa slowly wrapped his capture weapon around another unconscious villain. Finish the cleanup. Don't let anyone escape. Heroes and students immediately moved. Ida helped escort injured classmates. Hiroshima restrained fleeing criminals. Tsuyu and Ochako assisted 13. The remaining villains surrendered one after another. Without Nomu, they had no chance. Shigaraki clenched his fists. His breathing became uneven. This wasn't supposed to happen. He looked toward Izuku. The small green-haired bard calmly rested his emerald guitar across one shoulder. He smiled politely, as if the battle had only been another performance. Kurogiri floated beside his leader. Tamura Shigaraki. We must retreat. Shigaraki growled. Not yet. That musician. He ruined everything. He stepped forward. Before he could move another meter, All Might stood directly in front of him. The symbol of peace smiled. Young man, your opponent is me. Shigaraki stared silently for several seconds. Then, he clicked his tongue. Kurogiri, withdraw. The dark portal immediately expanded. Whoosh. One by one, the surviving villains disappeared. Within seconds, the USJ became quiet once again. The students gathered together. Many were exhausted. Some carried minor injuries. Everyone looked toward Izuku. Mina smiled brightly. That concert was amazing. Denki laughed. I've never seen villains lose because of music. Hiroshima grinned. That giant green hand is seriously manly. Ochako nodded enthusiastically. You helped everyone. Izuku scratched the back of his head. I'm just glad everyone is safe. All Might approached him. Young Midoriya, Your battlefield control was extraordinary. He placed one hand on Izuku's shoulder. Without your support, this battle would have been much more difficult. Izuku smiled. Thank you. Suddenly, the air behind them rippled. Crack. Everyone turned. A glowing violet portal slowly opened above the center of USJ. Sparkling magical particles drifted outward. Whoom. Aizawa immediately became alert. Another portal. All Might stepped forward. Everyone, stay behind me. Instead of villains, music echoed from inside the portal. A cheerful melody, followed by laughter. Ha, I knew I'd find the place eventually. A short figure casually walked through the portal. He wore extravagant purple clothing decorated with gold embroidery. A feathered hat rested atop his head. A colorful lute hung across his back. He smiled as though arriving at a party instead of a battlefield. The strange man looked around. Wow, nice place. Bit messy though. His eyes finally landed on Izuku. His grin widened. There you are. Before anyone could react, he casually walked toward Izuku. Then, he wrapped one arm around the shorter green-haired boy's shoulders. Look at you, already saving the world. Izuku's eyes became enormous. Dad. The entire class froze. Dad. Bakugo stared blankly. That tiny guy is your father. Scanlan laughed loudly. In the flesh, he dramatically spread both arms. Scanlan Shorthalt, bard, musician, legend, and occasionally responsible parent. Silence. Then, Denki whispered, he's even shorter than Midoriya. Mina covered her mouth to stop laughing. Hiroshima blinked repeatedly. They actually look related. Inko suddenly ran through the entrance alongside several rescue workers. Izuku. She stopped the instant she saw the newcomer. Her eyes widened. Scanlan. The bard smiled sheepishly. Hi, Inko. It's been a while. Inko folded her arms. 15 years. That's more than a while. Scanlan laughed awkwardly. Fair point. Izuku looked back and forth between them. You really are my father. Scanlan reached into his coat. He pulled out a weathered leather notebook. Identical to the bard's handbook. I'm afraid so. He winked. Although I think you've already figured that out. All Might stepped forward carefully. Sir, who exactly are you? Scanlan smiled. A bard. From somewhere very far away. He casually plucked a single note on his lute. Plink. Pink magical sparks floated through the air. They shimmered beside Izuku's emerald magic. 2 different colors. 2 different melodies. Yet, they resonated perfectly together. Whoom. Aizawa narrowed his eyes. Another magic user. Principal Nezu, who had just arrived with several teachers, quietly adjusted his teacup. Fascinating. Scanlan looked proudly at Izuku. I watched your performance. Excellent timing. Great spell selection. Your thunderwave still needs work. And your rhythm during hypnotic pattern was slightly rushed. Izuku blinked. You were watching. Scanlan nodded. The whole time. He smiled proudly. I'd say my son has officially become a real bard. The emerald guitar on Izuku's back softly glowed in response. As father and son stood side by side, everyone in USJ realized that the mysterious magic surrounding Izuku had finally revealed its true origin. 1 month after the USJ incident, Ua High School had recovered completely. Security had been strengthened. Teachers remained on high alert. Yet, one tradition would never be cancelled. The Ua Sports Festival, the largest public event for future heroes. Millions watched it every year. Pro heroes filled the audience. Talent agencies searched for promising students. Today, Class 1A stepped into the massive stadium. Roaring cheers echoed across the arena. Thousands of spectators filled every seat. Television cameras floated through the sky. President Mike's energetic voice thundered across the stadium. Welcome to the Ua Sports Festival. The audience erupted. Inside the competitors' waiting room, students adjusted their costumes. Bakugo cracked his knuckles. I'm winning. Todoroki quietly stood near the wall. Tokiyami meditated silently. Izuku calmly tuned his emerald guitar. Plink, plunk. Scanlan casually leaned against the doorway. He had somehow obtained a visitor's pass. Nobody knew how. Big crowd. He smiled toward Izuku. Remember, don't perform for victory. Perform because you enjoy it. Izuku smiled. I understand. Scanlan gave him a thumbs up. That's my bard. Soon, Midnight stepped onto the stage. The first event, the obstacle race. Massive gates slowly opened. Beyond them, robots, collapsed bridges, minefields, towering cliffs, and countless hazards waited. Present Mike shouted, "Ready, go, beep." Hundreds of students rushed forward. Boom. Explosions echoed immediately. Bakugo blasted into the lead. Todoroki froze the opening corridor. Huge glaciers stopped dozens of competitors. Ida accelerated between the ice. Everyone fought desperately. Izuku simply smiled. I don't feel like running. He gently played his guitar. Hum. Emerald magic circles appeared beneath him. Fly. Soft green wings unfolded behind his back. Whoosh. Instead of sprinting, he calmly floated upward. The audience fell silent. He's flying. Already. Bakugo looked upward. Oi. Get back down. Izuku waved politely. Sorry. Walking takes longer. He gently glided above Todoroki's ice. Above broken bridges. Above collapsing buildings. The entire obstacle course lay beneath him. The spectators watched in amazement. Mount Lady blinked. He skipped half the course. Edgeshot quietly nodded. Excellent tactical judgment. Suddenly, 3 zero-pointers emerged ahead. Their enormous bodies blocked the finish route. Other students immediately slowed. Some turned back. Others searched for another path. Izuku calmly opened the Bard's handbook. Another glowing page appeared. Major image. He smiled. This should be fun. He strummed another melody. Plink, plunk, woom. Suddenly, the sky filled with dozens of enormous emerald dragons. They roared across the battlefield. Roar. Their wings cast gigantic shadows across the stadium. The zero-pointers immediately activated their targeting systems. Warning, warning. They fired every weapon they had. Boom, boom, boom. Missiles, lasers, machine guns. Every attack struck empty air. The dragons were only illusions, while the robots wasted precious seconds. Izuku calmly floated above them. The audience burst into laughter. Present Mike nearly dropped his microphone. He tricked the robots. Smintos smiled, using the enemy's programming against them. All Might laughed proudly. Wonderful thinking, young Midoriya. Izuku crossed the finish line first. His feet gently touched the ground. Not a drop of sweat appeared on his forehead. He smiled toward the cheering audience. Thank you. He even bowed politely. The stadium erupted into applause. The next event, cavalry battle. Teams quickly formed. Ochako immediately approached Izuku. Can I join? Iida adjusted his glasses. Count me in. Tokiyami quietly nodded. Our abilities complement one another. Izuku smiled. Sounds perfect. The battle began. Dozens of teams charged toward one another. Boom. Students leapt through the arena. Headbands changed hands constantly. Izuku remained seated comfortably on Tokiyami's shoulders. Instead of attacking, he played another cheerful melody. Hum. Major illusion spread throughout the battlefield. Suddenly, 10 identical cavalry teams appeared. Each carried identical headbands. Each moved differently. Mina stared. Which one is real? Denki groaned. I have no idea. Bakugo charged anyway. Boom. He attacked the nearest team. They disappeared. Fake. He attacked another. It vanished. Another fake. Every illusion laughed simultaneously. Wrong one. Keep trying. Almost. The audience burst into laughter. Even the commentators struggled to keep up. Present Mike shouted. There are too many. I've completely lost the real one. Meanwhile, the real team quietly floated above everyone else. Fly carried them gently across the battlefield. Nobody noticed. They calmly collected points from confused opponents. The timer expired. Beep. The scoreboard appeared. First place, Izuku's team. The stadium exploded with applause. Thunderous cheers echoed through every section. Inside the waiting room, Bakugo glared at Izuku. You never fight normally. Izuku laughed softly. That's because I'm a bard. Scanlan appeared beside him once again. Excellent show. He proudly patted Izuku's shoulder. You turned an obstacle race into a concert. Izuku grinned. The tournament is next. Scanlan winked. Good. Let's see how well your music handles ice and fire. Across the arena, Shoto Todoroki quietly watched the smiling bard. His mesmetic eyes remained fixed on the emerald guitar. Magic. I'll find out exactly what it can do. The UA Sports Festival had reached its final stage. The tournament. The stadium was packed beyond capacity. Professional heroes watched every match carefully. Television helicopters circled overhead. Millions waited to see who would become champion. Present Mike raised his microphone. Our next match. Izuku Midoriya vs Shoto Todoroki. The audience erupted into cheers. The arena gates opened. Todoroki calmly walked toward the center of the battlefield. His expiration remained unreadable. Cold air followed every step. From the opposite side, Izuku entered while carrying his emerald guitar. He smiled politely and waved toward the audience. The spectators applauded immediately. Midnight raised one arm. Begin. Beep. Todoroki attacked instantly. He slammed one hand onto the ground. Crack. A massive glacier erupted forward. Towering walls of ice swallowed half the arena. The frozen wave rushed directly toward Izuku. The audience gasped. That's enormous. He's not holding back. Izuku calmly played a single chord. Plink. Woom. Emerald wings unfolded behind him. Fly. He gently lifted into the air. The glacier passed harmlessly beneath him. Crash. Ice covered the entire battlefield. Todoroki immediately looked upward. Flying again. Without hesitation, his left side ignited. Boom. Streams of blazing fire surged toward the sky. Izuku smiled. Pretty. He opened the bard's handbook. One glowing page slowly turned. Fireball. He laughed softly. Dad did say I'd eventually learn this. His fingers swept across every string. Braang. An emerald magic circle appeared high above the arena. A blazing sphere of green-orange fire slowly emerged. It rapidly expanded. Woom. The audience stood up. Another spell. Izuku pointed gently toward the glacier below. Go. The enormous fireball descended. Whoosh. Boom. The collision shook the stadium. Steam exploded into the sky. White mist swallowed the arena. Crack. The massive glacier rapidly melted. Water rushed across the battlefield. Present Mike shouted excitedly. He melted all that ice with one spell. Inside the observation area, Endeavor narrowed his eyes. That isn't ordinary fire. All Might quietly nodded. It's magic. The steam slowly cleared. Todoroki remained standing. His expiration had become more serious. You're stronger than I expected. Izuku smiled. Thanks. Todoroki extended both arms. Ice and fire erupted together. Boom. Twin waves rushed across the battlefield. The arena shook beneath the combined attack. Izuku gently closed his eyes. Instead of preparing another offensive spell, he began singing. A cheerful melody echoed across the stadium. Plink, plunk, hum. Everyone looked confused. He's singing. The magical lyrics carried through the air. Ice is cold. Fire is hot. Using both is what you've got. Don't fight yourself. Don't hide away. Be who you are. Starting today. Emerald musical notes floated around Todoroki. Todoroki hesitated. His attacks slowed. The melody echoed inside his mind. He remembered his mother's gentle smile. He remembered years of harsh training. He remembered the fear of becoming exactly like Endeavor. Izuku continued smiling. Your fire isn't his. It's yours. The entire stadium became silent. Even Endeavor stopped speaking. Todoroki slowly lowered his arms. Small flames flickered across his left side. For the first time, he activated his fire without anger. Without hesitation. Only determination. Boom. A brilliant pillar of fire erupted into the sky. The audience exploded into applause. Todoroki looked toward Izuku. Thank you. He smiled faintly. Now, let's finish this properly. Izuku laughed. That's the spirit. Both students charged forward. Ice surged. Fire roared. Music echoed. Emerald magic circles illuminated the battlefield. Todoroki launched another massive wave of fire. Boom. Izuku responded with another fireball. Whoosh. The two blazing attacks collided. Boom. A gigantic explosion erupted between them. Heat and emerald light filled the stadium. Shockwaves rolled across the arena. When the smoke finally cleared, both students stood near the center. Their attacks had completely cancelled each other. Midnight looked carefully. Both competitors remained inside the ring. Continue. Izuku smiled mischievously. One last trick. He softly played another melody. Hum. Bigby's hand. The enormous dark green hand emerged behind him once more. Whoom. Instead of attacking, it gently reached toward Todoroki. The giant hand lightly tapped his shoulder. Pat. Then, it gave him a thumbs up. The entire stadium burst into laughter. Even Todoroki blinked in confusion. What? That single moment of surprise was enough. The giant hand carefully pushed him backward. Step, step, step. Todoroki lost his balance. His heel crossed the arena boundary. Midnight immediately raised her whip. Out of bounds. Winner. Izuku Midoriya. The crowd erupted into thunderous applause. Todoroki looked down at the boundary line. Then back toward Izuku. Instead of frustration, he smiled. I lost. But, he nodded respectfully. Thank you. Izuku bowed politely. It was a great performance. High above the stadium, Scanlan leaned comfortably against a floating magical platform while eating popcorn. He laughed proudly. That's my son. Winning a tournament. With encouragement, music, and a very polite giant hand. He snapped his fingers happily as the emerald giant below waved toward the cheering crowd once again. The UA Sports Festival had officially ended. Izuku's unusual victory became the biggest topic among pro heroes. Some agencies praised his battlefield control. Others remained confused by his mysterious magic. None of them understood where his power truly came from. A few days later, internship assignments were announced. Students eagerly read the offers posted across the classroom. Hiroshima grinned. Crimson Riot's agency accepted me. Mina smiled. I'm going too. Ochako happily waved her acceptance letter. Gunhead invited me. Izuku quietly searched the board. His name wasn't there. Instead, a tiny emerald envelope suddenly appeared on his desk. Poof. Everyone turned toward it. Denki blinked. Did that letter just teleport? Izuku carefully opened it. Inside was a short handwritten message. Dear son, your internship begins today. Bring your guitar. Don't be late. Dad. Mina tilted her head. That's it. Izuku laughed. That's definitely him. Outside UA, a glowing violet portal slowly appeared. Crack. Scanlan casually stepped through while playing his colorful lute. Plink. Ready. Izuku nodded. Always. Before anyone else could react, both disappeared into the portal. Whoosh. They emerged inside Hosu City. Busy streets stretched in every direction. Heroes patrolled the sidewalks. Shops bustled with customers. The afternoon sun illuminated the entire district. Izuku looked around. So, where's the training facility? Scanlan laughed loudly. Facility. Who needs one? He pointed toward the crowded streets. This city is today's classroom. They began walking together. Scanlan spoke casually while spinning his lute. Being a bard isn't about knowing every spell. It's about knowing people. Waddick. Across the street, a little girl cried after dropping her basket of fruit. Before anyone else noticed, Scanlan was already there. He knelt beside her. Looks serious. He gently strummed one cheerful note. Plink. Small pink butterflies made of magic fluttered around the child. The girl immediately giggled. Pretty. Scanlan helped gather every apple. Problem solved. Izuku smiled. You didn't even use a combat spell. Scanlan winked. Exactly. Not every victory needs an explosion. They continued walking. Suddenly, a thief sprinted out of a jewelry store. Move. People screamed. The criminal pushed civilians aside while running. Izuku instinctively reached for his guitar. Scanlan raised one finger. Wait. Observe first. The thief rushed toward a crowded intersection. Without moving from his spot, Scanlan played 3 playful notes. Plink, plunk, plink. Minor illusion. A gigantic golden dragon suddenly appeared directly in front of the thief. Rawr! The criminal screamed. Monster. He immediately changed direction. Straight into 2 waiting police officers. Thud. Clang. Handcuffs clicked shut. The illusion disappeared. The dragon had never existed. Izuku blinked. You predicted where he'd run. Scanlan nodded. Combat begins before anyone throws a punch. Later that afternoon, they entered an abandoned warehouse on the edge of Hosu. Wooden training dummies stood everywhere. Old barrels lined the walls. Scanlan placed his lute aside. Today's lesson. Improvisation. He tossed 5 colored stones into the air. They floated around the room. You won't know what comes next. Neither should your opponent. Without warning, one stone shot toward Izuku. Whoosh. Izuku dodged. Another immediately followed. Then another. Scanlan laughed. Don't think. Play. Izuku grabbed his emerald guitar. He began strumming. Hum. Instead of casting a prepared spell, he allowed the melody to flow naturally. Emerald notes surrounded the room. A stone flew toward his shoulder. At the last second, Mage Hand appeared automatically. Tap. It gently redirected the projectile. Another stone approached from behind. Bigby's hand briefly materialized. Pat. It flicked the stone away before disappearing again. Scanlan smiled proudly. Good. Your instincts are waking up. The pace increased. Whoosh. Whoosh. Stones flew from every direction. Izuku stopped looking at them. Instead, he listened to the rhythm. His fingers continued moving across the strings. Music filled the warehouse. Every spell emerged naturally between the notes. Minor illusion distracted incoming attacks. Mage Hand deflected others. Feather Fall softened unexpected drops. The battle became a dance instead of a fight. After several minutes, the final stone dropped harmlessly onto the floor. Clink. Silence returned. Izuku breathed deeply. That felt different. Scanlan nodded. Because you stopped memorizing and started performing. The older bard picked up his lute again. One last lesson. He looked directly at Izuku. Confidence. Not arrogance. Confidence. Izuku listened carefully. Scanlan smiled. When you walk onto a battlefield, your allies should think, everything will be okay. Your enemies should think, why is he smiling? Izuku laughed. That's surprisingly simple. Scanlan shrugged. The best performances usually are. As the sun slowly set over Hosu, father and son walked through the city together. Neither noticed a pair of crimson eyes silently watching from the rooftops. A lone man wrapped in blood-stained cloth rested one hand on the hilt of his sword. Stain. He had witnessed the entire afternoon. Music, magic, and yet, his eyes narrowed toward Izuku. He helps strangers without asking for praise. Stain quietly disappeared into the evening shadows. Perhaps. He is worth testing. Night slowly descended over Hosu City. Streetlights illuminated the empty roads. Sirens echoed in the distance. The peaceful atmosphere from the afternoon had disappeared. Hero patrols rushed across the city after receiving multiple emergency calls. Izuku and Scanlan stood on the roof of a tall building. Both quietly observed the streets below. Scanlan folded his arms. Something feels wrong. Izuku nodded. The city is too quiet. Before either could continue, a desperate scream echoed through the district. Help! Another voice followed. Someone stop him. Izuku immediately looked toward the source. Several blocks away, a crimson aura flickered between the narrow alleys. Scanlan smiled slightly. Looks like today's final lesson found us. Whoosh! Both bards leapt across the rooftops. They quickly arrived above a narrow alley. Below, Tenya Iida knelt on the ground. His armor was badly damaged. Blood dripped from several deep cuts. He struggled to stand. Across from him, Stain calmly held two blood-stained swords. His cold eyes remained fixed on the young hero. Your resolve is weak. Stain slowly raised another knife. Die. Before the blade could descend, a cheerful guitar melody echoed through the alley. Plink, plunk, hum. Stain paused. Music. He slowly turned. Izuku casually walked into the alley with his emerald guitar resting against his shoulder. Scanlan leaned comfortably against a nearby wall, watching quietly. Izuku smiled politely. Good evening. Sorry. Your dramatic entrance was impressive. But your audience looks terrified. Stain narrowed his eyes. Another false hero. Izuku shook his head. Actually, I'm still a student. Stain pointed one sword toward him. Then leave. This does not concern you. Izuku gently strummed another chord. Plink. Emerald runes appeared beneath his feet. He smiled even wider. I disagree. The Bard's handbook slowly opened. One glowing page shined brightly. Vicious mockery. Izuku looked directly into Stain's eyes. All right. Let's try Dad's favorite spell. He played a playful rhythm. Hum. Then, he began singing. You call yourself scary, yet you've been posing for 5 whole minutes. Your speeches are longer than your fights. Did you rehearse those in front of a mirror? The alley became silent. Stain blinked once. What? Izuku continued. That scarf is dirty. Your swords need polishing. And honestly, you'd look much better if you smiled. A pulse of emerald magic shot from every lyric. Womb. The insults weren't ordinary words. They carried magical force. Stain suddenly grabbed his head. Sharp pain exploded inside his mind. The bardic spell attacked his concentration directly. His heartbeat became unstable. His vision blurred. Scanlan grinned proudly. Excellent delivery. Keep going. Izuku nodded. He struck another chord. Plink. Hero killer. Really? Sounds like you spent 3 days trying to invent that title. Next time ask someone for help. Stain staggered backward. Stop. He tried to charge. His steps became uneven. The magical ridicule disrupted every movement. Iida stared in disbelief. He's defeating Stain by making fun of him. Stain roared angrily. Rawr. He lunged forward with both swords. Whoosh. Izuku calmly stepped aside. The blades sliced through empty air. Instead of retreating, he continued singing. Careful. You're missing again. Have you considered opening an acting school instead? Your speeches are much sharper than your swords. Another wave of emerald magic struck. Womb. Stain's breathing became erratic. His grip weakened. One sword slipped from his hand. Clang. Scanlan applauded. Beautiful. His confidence is completely falling apart. Stain growled through clenched teeth. Silence. He threw a knife toward Izuku. Whoosh. Without interrupting the melody, Mage Hand appeared. Tap. The floating emerald hand casually caught the knife. It spun the blade once. then tossed it harmlessly into a nearby trash bin. Clunk. Even Scanlan laughed. Nice touch. Stain's face twisted with frustration. His terrifying composure had vanished completely. He rushed forward recklessly. Boom. Izuku calmly sidestepped once more. He played one final chord. Brong. You're angry. You're distracted. And now, you're completely off rhythm. The final pulse of vicious mockery struck. Boom. Stain stumbled violently. His legs gave out. He dropped to one knee while clutching his head. His breathing became heavy. Every attempt to focus collapsed beneath the relentless magical insults. The alley fell silent. Izuku lowered his guitar. Feeling better. Stain looked up with exhausted eyes. For the first time in years, he had completely lost control of his emotions during a battle. Not because of overwhelming strength. Not because of fear. But because a smiling bard had dismantled his concentration with music and relentless mockery. Behind Izuku, Scanlan proudly crossed his arms. Lesson complete. Sometimes, the sharpest weapon in a battle, he smiled mischievously, is a really good joke. Stain remained on one knee. His breathing was uneven. The emerald echoes of vicious mockery still lingered inside his mind. Yet, his eyes slowly sharpened once again. You're far stronger than I expected. He slowly stood. His remaining sword reflected the pale moonlight. Then I'll cut through your magic. Iida struggled to his feet. Midoriya, be careful. Scanlan simply leaned against the alley wall. He folded his arms with complete confidence. Watch carefully. This spell is one of the greatest gifts a bard can learn. Stain vanished. Whoosh. He rushed forward at incredible speed. His sword flashed through the darkness. Slash. Another slash followed immediately. Slash. His movements were even faster than before. Izuku calmly took one step backward. He gently placed his fingers on the emerald guitar. All right. Bigby's hand. Whoom. An enormous emerald magic circle appeared above the alley. The familiar giant dark green hand descended from the sky. Its glow illuminated the entire street. Stain jumped upward. Too slow. He swung his sword directly toward Izuku. Before the blade could reach him, the giant hand moved. Whoosh. Its massive fingers closed around the sword. Clang. The blade stopped instantly. Not even a single centimeter moved farther. Stain's eyes widened. What? He pulled with all his strength. His muscles strained. Crack. The sword refused to move. The magical grip was absolute. Izuku smiled. You're not getting that back. The giant hand casually squeezed. Crunch. The steel sword bent, then shattered into dozens of pieces. Cling. Clang. Metal fragments scattered across the alley. Iida stared silently. It crushed steel. Stain immediately drew another knife. He charged again. Whoosh. He leapt toward Izuku's blind side. The giant hand reacted before Izuku even turned. Pat. It casually swatted Stain away. Boom. Stain crashed into a brick wall. Crack. The entire wall collapsed behind him. Dust filled the alley. Scanlan laughed proudly. Excellent reflex. Your hand's getting smarter. Stain emerged from the rubble. Blood trickled down his forehead. Yet, he continued walking. I won't fall. He threw 6 knives simultaneously. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Mage hand appeared. Tap, tap, tap. Every knife changed direction. They embedded harmlessly into nearby wooden crates. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Izuku quietly flipped another glowing page inside the bard's handbook. His eyes stopped on a spell his father had recently taught him. He smiled. I think this is enough. He strummed a playful melody. Plink, plunk, hum. The air shimmered. Emerald musical notes surrounded Stain. They danced around him in circles. Scanlan grinned. There it is. The spell activated. Otto's irresistible dance. Stain suddenly froze. What? His body moved on its own. One foot stepped sideways. Then another. His shoulders began swaying. His arms waved rhythmically through the air. No, stop. He desperately tried resisting. His muscles completely ignored him. Izuku continued playing. The cheerful melody echoed through the alley. Stain spun once, then twice. He hopped, clapped, twirled. His terrifying expression remained completely serious, while the rest of his body enthusiastically danced. Iida blinked repeatedly. Is he dancing? Scanlan laughed so hard he nearly dropped his lute. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Even several nearby pro heroes stopped after arriving at the alley. Manuel rubbed his eyes. Hero killer Stain is performing. Native slowly lowered his weapon. I don't even know how to react. Stain's breathing became increasingly heavier. The magical dance continued. Spin, step, clap, jump. Again, again, again. His movements gradually slowed. His legs trembled. Sweat covered his face. Finally, his exhausted body could no longer continue. Thud. He collapsed onto the pavement. Completely unconscious. The spell quietly faded. Silence filled the alley. Izuku gently lowered his guitar. Good performance. The giant dark green hand slowly descended beside him. Instead of preparing for battle, it politely clapped. Clap, clap, clap. Scanlan walked over while still chuckling. That's officially the funniest victory I've ever witnessed. He placed one hand on Izuku's shoulder. You defeated one of the most feared killers in Japan, without breaking a single bone. Izuku smiled awkwardly. I guess he wasn't ready for a dance battle. Iida slowly approached them. His injuries still hurt, yet he bowed deeply. Thank you. You both saved my life. Izuku immediately helped him straighten up. Friends help each other. Moments later, police vehicles arrived. Sirens echoed through the streets. Officers quickly secured the unconscious Stain with reinforced restraints. Manuel looked toward Izuku with disbelief. I've seen countless battles, but I've never seen anyone arrest a criminal by forcing him to dance until he passed out. Scanlan proudly wrapped one arm around Izuku's shoulders. That's barred magic. Sometimes the greatest finale. He looked at the unconscious Stain one last time. Is making the villain become the entertainment. The emerald giant hand gave one final thumbs up before dissolving into countless glowing green musical notes beneath the moonlit sky. Summer arrived. Class 1A gathered outside UA once again. This time, their destination was the forest training camp. The purpose was simple: strengthen their quirks, improve teamwork, prepare for future threats. None of the students knew that danger was already moving toward them. Inside the bus, Mina leaned toward Izuku. So, is your dad coming too? Izuku laughed softly. He said he'll visit if something interesting happens. Denki grinned. That definitely sounds like him. Bakugo clicked his tongue. That old guy appears out of nowhere. Kirishima chuckled. He's pretty cool. Hours later, the bus arrived at the mountain entrance. Pixie Bob welcomed everyone enthusiastically. You've got 3 kilometers before reaching camp. Before anyone could ask, the ground exploded. Boom. Gigantic earth monsters burst from the forest. The students immediately scattered. Izuku calmly picked up his guitar. Already, he played a short melody. Hum. Bardic inspiration. Emerald stars floated around every classmate. Their bodies immediately felt lighter. Kirishima punched through an earth beast. Boom. Ochako leapt over another. Todoroki froze an entire group. The students advanced together. By sunset, everyone safely reached the training camp. Mandalay smiled. Good work. Tomorrow begins the real training. Days passed. Every student steadily improved. Izuku spent his free time practicing new spells with Scanlan whenever magical portals quietly appeared near the forest. Their nightly lessons became increasingly advanced. During the 4th night, the peaceful forest suddenly changed. Birds fled into the sky. The wind stopped. Then, an enormous explosion echoed through the mountains. Boom! Alarms immediately sounded across the camp. Mandalay's telepathy echoed inside everyone's minds. Villains have attacked. Protect yourselves. Deep within the forest, members of the Vanguard Action Squad emerged from the darkness. Muscular laughed loudly. Let's have some fun. Dobby slowly ignited blue flames. Twice created dozens of clones. Spinner charged with his massive sword. The entire camp descended into chaos. Students quickly formed defensive groups. Fires spread between the trees. Boom! Blue flames consumed nearby buildings. Villains attacked from every direction. Izuku climbed onto a large boulder overlooking the battlefield. He looked across the burning forest. Friends were scattered. Some were already injured. He immediately opened the Bard's Handbook. One glowing page shined brighter than the others. Dimension Door. This is the perfect time. He strummed 4 powerful chords. Brang! Woom! A massive emerald doorway appeared beside him. Its surface shimmered like calm water. Near the eastern forest, Mina and Zero became surrounded by villains. Before they could be overwhelmed, the emerald portal suddenly opened beside them. Izuku's voice echoed through it. This way. Without hesitation, both students jumped through. Whoosh! They instantly arrived beside Izuku. Mina stared in amazement. We teleported. Izuku nodded. Stay together. Another explosion erupted. Boom! Muscular smashed through dozens of trees. Debris flew everywhere. Kota screamed in fear while running through the forest. Muscular laughed. Found you. He raised his enormous fist. Before the attack landed, another emerald doorway opened. Woom! Izuku stepped out directly between Muscular and Kota. The giant villain blinked. Another kid. Izuku smiled politely. Sorry. This child isn't part of your audience. He gently pushed Kota toward the portal. Go. The frightened boy ran through immediately. The doorway closed behind him. Safe. Muscular roared. Roar. His muscles expanded dramatically. Then I'll crush you instead. He charged. Boom. Izuku calmly played another melody. Bigby's hand. The gigantic dark green hand descended from above. Whom? Muscular's punch collided with the emerald fist. Boom. Shockwaves tore through the surrounding trees. Neither side moved. Muscular laughed wildly. Finally. Someone strong. He pushed harder. Crack. The ground beneath both fighters collapsed. Izuku remained completely calm. You're powerful. But, he softly played another chord. Plink. The giant hand suddenly changed position. Instead of pushing, it grabbed Muscular around the waist. Clench. What? Before Muscular could react, the giant hand lifted him completely off the ground. Whoosh. It hurled him hundreds of meters away. Boom. The villain crashed through countless trees before disappearing into the darkness. Elsewhere, Dobby's blue flames spread toward several injured students. Fire roared through the forest. Boom. Izuku quickly raised his guitar again. Dimension Door. Another emerald portal opened. The injured students immediately escaped through it. Seconds later, blue flames consumed the place where they had been standing. Inside the temporary evacuation zone, Ochako looked around in amazement. Students continued arriving through glowing portals from every direction. Injured, exhausted, frightened. Every one of them reached safety within seconds. Mandalay stared at Izuku. You're evacuating the entire camp. By yourself. Izuku nodded while continuing to play. It's faster than carrying everyone. High above the battlefield, Dobby narrowed his eyes. That musician. He keeps ruining everything. He raised one hand. Massive blue flames surged toward the evacuation area. Boom. Before they could reach the students, a familiar voice echoed across the forest, trying to interrupt the concert. Crack. A violet portal opened above the battlefield. Scanlan casually stepped through while carrying his colorful lute. He smiled toward Izuku. Need a duet? Izuku grinned. Perfect timing. Father and son stood side by side. Their guitars and lutes glowed simultaneously. Emerald magic. Pink magic. Both melodies merged into one. The burning forest suddenly echoed with music as two bards prepared to defend every student against the League of Villains. Several days after the forest attack, Ua High School fell into complete silence. The training camp had ended in disaster. Although the students had survived, one classmate had been taken. Katsuki Bakugo. The entire country watched the news with growing concern. Heroes launched a nationwide search. The League of Villains vanished without a trace. Inside Ua, Class 1A gathered in their dormitory common room. Nobody smiled. Hiroshima slammed his fist onto the table. We have to save him. Ochako looked worried. The heroes are already searching. What if we make things worse? Silence followed. Izuku quietly stood near the window. His emerald guitar rested against the wall. He slowly opened the bard's handbook. His eyes stopped on a newly glowing page. Seeming. Scanlan smiled from the opposite side of the room. Looks like you're finally ready. Izuku looked up. This spell changes appearances. Scanlan nodded. Not one person. Everyone. Perfect disguises. That evening, a secret meeting took place inside a small abandoned warehouse. Present were Izuku, Hiroshima, Todoroki, Iida, Yaoyorozu, Ochako, Tsuyu, and Scanlan. Yaoyorozu placed a city map across a table. The tracker hidden inside the Nomu warp device led us here. She pointed toward Kamino Ward, an abandoned warehouse district. Hiroshima clenched his fists. That's where they're hiding. Scanlan folded his arms. Charging through the front door would be stupid. He smiled. Fortunately, bards rarely use front doors. Izuku nodded. Everyone gathered together. The students stood in a circle. Izuku gently played his guitar. Plink, plunk, hum. Emerald magic spread across the room. The bard's handbook glowed brightly. Seeming. Whom. Emerald light completely surrounded everyone. Their bodies slowly changed. Hair colors shifted. Faces transformed. Clothing became dark villain outfits. Even their voices subtly changed. Ochako looked down at herself. I look like a criminal. Hiroshima stared at Todoroki. I almost didn't recognize you. Todoroki calmly examined his reflection. The illusion is flawless. Scanlan grinned. Excellent. Even I almost believed it. Izuku smiled. Let's move. Night covered Kami number. The abandoned district remained silent. Old factories lined empty streets. Broken windows reflected the moonlight. Far ahead, an enormous warehouse stood surrounded by armed villains. Two guards stepped forward. Identify yourselves. Without hesitation, Izuku confidently walked toward them. His disguise perfectly matched a veteran criminal. New recruits. Boss ordered reinforcements. One guard frowned. Password. Before anyone could panic, Scanlan casually stepped beside Izuku. Seriously. He rolled his eyes dramatically. They're changing the password every week now. The guard groaned. Yeah, it's annoying. Scanlan shrugged. Exactly. Can we go inside already? The guard sighed. Fine. Don't cause trouble. The heavy gate slowly opened. Creak. Hiroshima quietly whispered. That actually worked. Scanlan winked. Confidence. Remember. Inside, dozens of villains gathered around crates of stolen equipment. Twice laughed while stacking supplies. Spinner sharpened his sword. Mr. Compress organized escape routes. None suspected the disguised students. Hidden behind another corridor, Bakugo sat restrained inside a reinforced room. His wrists were chained, yet, his glare remained as fierce as ever. Hiroshima quietly smiled. We found him. Before anyone moved, Shigaraki's voice echoed from another hallway. Our guest still refuses to cooperate. He slowly approached Bakugo's cell. What a stubborn personality. The students immediately hid behind nearby crates. Their disguises remained active. Shigaraki walked directly past them without hesitation. He never noticed. Izuku quietly whispered, "Wait until he's farther away." Everyone nodded. After several minutes, the hallway became empty. Izuku carefully approached the reinforced door. Locked. Yaoyorozu quietly created several lock-picking tools. "Give me 30 seconds. Click, click, clack." The final lock released. The heavy door slowly opened. Bakugo immediately looked toward them. "Who are?" Izuku quickly raised one finger. "Quiet." He dismissed the illusion around his own face. Emerald light faded. Bakugo's eyes widened. "Deku." Hiroshima smiled. "We came to bring you home." Bakugo looked at every disguised classmate. "You idiots. You're actually here." His voice softened for just a moment. "Took you long enough." Izuku quietly unlocked the restraints. Clink. The chains dropped onto the floor. Suddenly, an alarm echoed throughout the warehouse. Beep. Red lights flashed everywhere. A loudspeaker activated. "Intruders detected. Intruders detected." The disguises immediately faded. Emerald light dissolved into the air. Throughout the warehouse, villains turned toward the rescue team. Shigaraki slowly smiled. So, it was all an illusion. Blue flames ignited nearby. Dabi stepped into the hallway. "Looks like the concert's over." Izuku calmly lifted his emerald guitar onto his shoulder. He smiled confidently. "Actually, the main performance is just beginning." The warehouse alarms screamed without stopping. Beep. Red emergency lights flashed across every corridor. Villains rushed toward the rescue team from every direction. Weapons were drawn. Quirks activated. The entire hideout erupted into chaos. Bakugo straightened his shoulders after the chains fell away. Crack. He smirked. Finally. Small explosions danced across his palms. "Let's wreck this place." Hiroshima stepped beside him. "Stay with the group." Bakugo scoffed. "Don't order me around." Even so, he remained beside his classmates. Dabi slowly walked forward. Blue flames danced around his arms. "Well, this reunion won't last long." Boom. A torrent of blue fire surged through the hallway. Izuku calmly played 2 quick notes. Plink, plunk. An emerald barrier appeared before the group. Wall of force. Whom. The transparent wall completely blocked the incoming flames. Boom. Blue fire crashed against the magical barrier. It didn't leave a single mark. Dabi frowned. Another trick. Spinner charged next. "Get them." He swung his massive sword. Slash. Before the blade landed, Bigby's hand appeared. Woom. The giant dark green hand caught the sword effortlessly. Clench. Spinner struggled. "What?" The emerald hand twisted slightly. Crack. The sword snapped cleanly in half. Mr. Compress threw several marbles. They spun through the air toward the students. Whoosh. Yaoyorozu shouted. "Watak out." Izuku strummed another chord. Hum. Counterspell. Emerald sound waves spread through the corridor. The enchanted marbles immediately lost their magical energy. Clink. Clink. They rolled harmlessly across the floor. Scanlan laughed. "Nice timing. You're improving." The rescue team advanced deeper into the warehouse. Villains continued falling back. Their objective was simple. Escape. Outside, a massive explosion shook Kami number. Boom. All Might had arrived. Alongside Endeavor. Best Genist. Edgeshot. Grand Tory number. Countless pro heroes surrounded the building. Inside the warehouse, Shigaraki slowly smiled. "He's here." His voice carried through every hallway. "Master." The temperature suddenly changed. The lights flickered. Crack. Darkness gathered inside the central chamber. A heavy pressure filled the air. Every villain immediately stepped aside. From the shadows, a tall man slowly emerged. His face was hidden beneath a breathing mask. Countless stolen quirks slept inside his body. All for one. The atmosphere became suffocating. Even Bakugo instinctively tensed. Kirishima swallowed quietly. This pressure. All for one calmly looked toward the students. Children. How brave. He slowly raised one hand. Allow me to explain why your efforts were too noisy. Izuku interrupted him. Everyone turned toward the green-haired bard. Scanlan smiled knowingly. Go ahead. Izuku opened the bard's handbook. Another brilliant page revealed itself. Silence. He gently closed his eyes. His fingers brushed the emerald guitar. Plink, plunk, hum. The melody spread softly across the chamber. Emerald runes expanded beneath all for one's feet. Whom? A perfect sphere of emerald light surrounded the villain. It expanded rapidly. 10 meters. 20. 30. Then, everything became silent. All for one's voice vanished completely. His lips continued moving. Not a single sound emerged. Shigaraki blinked. Question mark. He shouted something. Nothing. No sound escaped. Dabi ignited his flames while yelling toward the others. Complete silence. Every villain looked around in confusion. They could still hear their own breathing outside the magical sphere. Inside it, nothing. Not footsteps. Not explosions. Not voices. Absolute silence. All for one narrowed his eyes. He attempted to issue commands. His subordinates couldn't hear a single word. Their coordination immediately collapsed. Scanlan quietly laughed from outside the spell's radius. Always funny. Bakugo grinned. He can't even give orders. The League of Villains quickly fell into disarray. Spinner looked toward Shigaraki. Shigaraki shouted. Spinner couldn't hear him. Twice tried giving directions. Everyone misunderstood. Villains ran into one another. Their organized defense completely disappeared. All for one calmly activated several quirks at once. Shockwaves. Air pressure. Kinetic force. Boom. The attacks still erupted. But, without communication, every villain was caught inside the chaos. Several criminals were blasted aside by friendly fire. Crash. Outside the warehouse, All Might charged through the collapsing entrance. Boom. He immediately noticed something strange. Why is nobody talking? Gran Torino smiled. Midoriya again. All Might looked toward the center chamber. There. Izuku calmly continued playing his guitar. The emerald sphere of silence surrounded the King of Evil. All for one continued speaking. Not a single word reached anyone. All Might laughed proudly. Ha ha. Young Midoriya. Excellent support. All for one finally stopped trying to speak. Instead, he slowly turned toward Izuku. For the first time, a faint expiration of annoyance crossed his hidden face. He had manipulated nations with words. Commanded countless villains. Broken heroes through intimidation. Yet now, a small bard with an emerald guitar had stolen the one thing he relied on before every battle. His voice. Izuku smiled politely. Sorry. The audience came to watch the fight. Not the speech. The emerald sphere of silence continued surrounding All for One. Inside, the King of Evil could unleash countless quirks. Outside, his commands vanished into nothing. The League of Villains had completely lost coordination. The battlefield tilted in the hero's favor. All Might landed in front of All for One. Boom. His cape fluttered behind him. He smiled confidently. It's over. All for One answered only with action. His arm expanded with layers of stolen quirks. Air cannon. Kinetic booster. Spring-like limbs. Impact multiplier. The massive fist surged forward. Boom. All Might met it head-on. Boom. Their collision shattered the warehouse walls. Glass exploded outward. Steel beams bent. The entire building trembled. Outside, heroes hurried civilians away from the collapsing district. The battle between the symbol of peace and the King of Evil had begun. Inside the battlefield, Izuku watched carefully. His emerald guitar remained in his hands. Scanlan stood beside him with his colorful lute. He smiled. It's time. Izuku nodded. The finale. Father and son stepped forward together. Their instruments glowed. Emerald magic, pink magic, both melodies intertwined. Hum, plink, plunk. The air itself vibrated with arcane power. All for one immediately noticed them. His eyes narrowed. He raised another arm. Dozens of compressed air bullets erupted toward both bards. Boom. Scanlan laughed. Too predictable. He played one cheerful chord. Plink. A shimmering pink barrier appeared. The projectiles bounced away harmlessly. Boom. 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 Izuku followed with another melody. Hum. Hoom. The enormous dark green hand descended from the clouds. Its fingers slowly clenched. Scanlan smiled. Don't leave mine waiting. He snapped his fingers. A gigantic pink magical hand materialized beside the emerald one. The two colossal hands floated side by side above Kami number. The crowd stared upward. Heroes, villains, police officers, reporters. Everyone froze. Present Mike shouted into his microphone. There are two giant magical hands. All Might laughed. Ha ha, magnificent. Scanlan pointed his lute toward All for One. Left side. Izuku nodded. Right side. Both played simultaneously. Brang. Plink. The emerald hand charged. The pink hand followed. Whoosh. All for One unleashed another combination of quirks. Gigantic shockwaves exploded outward. Boom. Black tendrils erupted from the ground. Compressed air cannons fired continuously. Boom. 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 The emerald hand caught the shockwave. The pink hand crushed the black tendrils. Crack. Every attack disappeared beneath overwhelming magical force. All for One attempted to retreat. Both giant hands immediately changed direction. They moved with perfect coordination. One blocked his escape. The other struck from above. Boom. The emerald fist smashed into his defensive barrier. Crack. Layers of reinforced quirks shattered. Before he recovered, the pink hand struck from the side. Boom. His body crashed through several ruined buildings. Scanlan laughed. Beautiful timing. Izuku smiled. Again. Both giant hands attacked together. Left, right, uppercut, hammer strike, clap, boom, boom, boom. Every coordinated attack destroyed another defensive quirk. All for One desperately activated regeneration. Force field, impact absorption, air shield. Each ability lasted only moments before another magical fist shattered it. Inside the observation area, Endeavor watched silently. Those hands. They're fighting like experienced martial artists. Gran Torino nodded. Father and son. Their rhythm is perfect. All Might seized the opening. Thank you. He launched himself into the air. Boom. His fist gathered every remaining ounce of strength. Izuku and Scanlan exchanged one final glance. Ready. Always. Their melodies merged completely. Emerald light. Pink light. Golden light from All Might. All three energies converged. Whoom. The emerald hand restrained All for One's right arm. The pink hand restrained his left. Clench. The villain struggled violently. Every stolen quirk activated at once. Crack. The magical grip refused to loosen. All Might roared. United. He descended like a meteor. States. His fist glowed brilliantly. Smash. Boom. The impact echoed across Kami number. Shockwaves spread for kilometers. Clouds split apart. The ground shook beneath every building. When the dust finally settled, All for One lay unconscious inside a massive crater. His breathing mask had shattered. His remaining stolen quirks had completely failed. The King of Evil had fallen. Silence covered the battlefield. Then, thunderous applause erupted from every direction. Heroes cheered. Police officers celebrated. Civilians cried with relief. The two gigantic magical hands slowly released their grip. Instead of disappearing immediately, the emerald hand and the pink hand looked toward each other. They gently bumped their fists together. Tap. Then, both gave matching thumbs up. The entire crowd burst into laughter. Scanlan rested his lute across one shoulder. Not bad. Izuku laughed. Best concert we've ever performed. All Might walked toward them, smiling despite his injuries. Young Midoriya. He looked at Scanlan. And Master Bard. Thank you. Today, your music helped save Japan. Father and son smiled at each other as the first rays of sunrise broke through the clouds above the ruined city, marking the end of the greatest performance either of them had ever given. The battle at Kamino had ended. The League of Villains retreated. All for one had been captured. The rising sun illuminated the ruined city. Rescue teams filled every street. Ambulances arrived one after another. Reporters crowded every corner. Today's battle would be remembered forever. All Might stood before the gathered heroes. His breathing was heavy. His muscular form slowly faded. Steam rose from his body. Within moments, he returned to his thin, weakened appearance. The crowd fell silent. A television camera focused on him. All Might smiled one last time. Everyone, it's your turn now. He raised a trembling fist toward the sky. Then, slowly lowered it. The symbol of peace had retired. Throughout Japan, millions watched the broadcast. Some cried. Others stood in stunned silence. A new era had begun. 1 week later, a special ceremony was held at Ua High School. Students, teachers, pro-heroes, government officials, all gathered inside the main auditorium. Principal Nezu stepped onto the stage. Today, we celebrate not only bravery, but a new kind of hero. He smiled toward Izuku. Midoriya Izuku, please come forward. The audience applauded. Izuku walked calmly onto the stage. His emerald guitar rested across his back. Scanlan proudly watched from the front row. Inko wiped away happy tears. Principal Nezu continued. This student entered Ua without a quirk. Yet he has repeatedly protected civilians, supported fellow heroes, and helped defeat threats that endangered our nation. Through courage, music, and magic, thunderous applause echoed throughout the hall. All Might slowly approached the stage. Although retired, his smile remained unchanged. He placed one hand on Izuku's shoulder. Young Midoriya, I once believed a person needed a quirk to become a hero. He laughed softly. You proved me wrong. Thank you. Izuku smiled warmly. Thank you for believing in me. Scanlan suddenly stood. Hold on. This ending needs one more song. The audience immediately laughed. He casually walked onto the stage beside Izuku. Ready for one last duet? Izuku nodded. Always. Father and son lifted their instruments. The emerald guitar, the colorful lute, their melodies blended together once again. Plink, plunk, hum. Warm magical lights drifted through the auditorium. Instead of explosive spells, gentle emerald and pink musical notes floated above every person present. Children laughed while trying to catch them. The tiny lights danced through the air like glowing butterflies. Ochako smiled brightly. It's beautiful. Mina swayed happily with the music. Best graduation concert ever. Hiroshima laughed. That's incredibly manly. Even Bakugo crossed his arms with a small grin. Don't get used to compliments. But, nice song. Izuku chuckled. Thanks, Kachan. Aizawa quietly stood near the back of the hall. He looked toward the stage. His tired eyes softened slightly. Magic. I still can't erase it. Present Mike laughed loudly. Good thing. Otherwise we'd miss concerts like this. After the music ended, Scanlan gently patted Izuku's shoulder. Well, you don't really need me anymore. Izuku blinked. You're leaving. Scanlan smiled. I'll still visit. There are countless worlds waiting for another performance. He winked. And besides, you're already a better bard than I was at your age. A violet portal slowly appeared behind him. Crack. Before stepping through, Scanlan turned around one final time. Keep smiling. Keep singing. And never stop making villains question their life choices. Izuku laughed. I won't. Scanlan gave one last thumbs up. Then, he disappeared into the glowing portal. Whoosh! The portal quietly closed. Months later, Musudafu had returned to peace. Crime rates continued falling. Many villains surrendered without fighting after hearing rumors about a hero who defeated enemies with songs, illusions, giant magical hands, and embarrassing dance spells. Some even ran away the moment they heard guitar strings. High above the city, a familiar figure stood atop a rooftop. The evening breeze gently moved his green hair. His emerald guitar rested comfortably across his shoulder. He looked down at the peaceful streets below. Children laughed. Families walked together. Heroes continued their patrols. Izuku smiled. Looks like everything's quiet tonight. He gently played a single chord. Plink. A tiny dark green magical hand appeared beside him. It happily waved toward the city. Izuku laughed. Come on. Our audience is waiting. With a leap, the bard hero disappeared across the rooftops beneath the evening sky. And throughout Japan, his legend continued to spread. Not as the strongest fighter. Not as the greatest quirk user. But as the hero who proved that music, laughter, friendship, and a dark green giant hand could save the world.